Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. Today, we have a true literary enigma with us. For those who may somehow not know who are you?
I am Emily Jane Brontë, the author of a single novel called Wuthering Heights and a collection of poems I shared with my sisters.
We are so happy to have you. Let's go back to the very beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born on July 30th, 1818, in a village called Thornton in Yorkshire, England, though the winds of Haworth are what truly shaped my soul.
What was your given name at birth?
My name was Emily Jane Brontë.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
Not a grand one, I'm afraid. I was named after my mother, Maria, and her sister, Elizabeth, names that were quite common in our family circles. It was simple and sturdy, like the moors themselves.
And what was your hometown like growing up?
Haworth was a place of wild, rugged beauty. Our parsonage sat right at the edge of the moors. It was quiet, often misty, and smelling of peat and heather. To many, it seemed bleak, but to me, it was the most vibrant place on earth.
What was your family life like?
We were a very close-knit group. My father was a clergyman, and after my mother passed away, my sisters, Charlotte and Anne, and my brother Branwell became my entire world. We lived in our imaginations as much as we lived in our house.
What kind of kid were you?
I was quite shy and preferred the company of animals and the open hills to the company of people. I was often called the strange one because I would rather be outside in a storm than sitting politely in a parlor.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
I feared being away from home. I suffered terribly from homesickness whenever I was sent away to school. The walls of a classroom felt like a cage. I needed the freedom of the Yorkshire hills to breathe.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
I don't think I dreamed of a career in the way people do today. I simply wanted to create. My siblings and I spent our days building entire imaginary kingdoms. Gondal was mine. I just wanted to tell stories that felt as wild as the wind.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
Honestly, my favorite activity was leaving it. But I did enjoy music. I loved playing the piano. There is a certain rhythm to it that matches the rhythm of poetry.
What was your first job?
I worked briefly as a teacher at Law Hill School. It was quite a challenge. The long hours and the confinement were difficult for me, but it gave me a glimpse into the lives of others that eventually fed into my writing.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I think I always knew. While other girls were interested in social graces, I was busy observing the way a hawk circles, or writing verses about dark, brooding heroes. I found more truth in nature than in social gatherings.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
It was the day Charlotte discovered my private notebook of poems. I was furious at first. I felt my soul had been invaded. But that small moment of her finding those pages led to us publishing our joint book of poetry.
What was your biggest break?
Publishing Wuthering Heights in 1847. Though I used the pen name Ellis Bell to keep my privacy, seeing those characters, Heathcliff and Catherine, come to life in print was a monumental moment for me.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
The struggle was primarily one of isolation and health. We had very little money, and we had to face the reality that, as women, our voices might not be heard unless we hid behind masculine names.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Never. I didn't write for fame or for an audience. I wrote because I had to. If no one had ever read a word I wrote, I still would have spent my evenings by the fire with my pen and paper.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
My walks. Every single day, I would go out onto the moors. I would walk for miles, often with my dog, Keeper. That is where the stories lived. I also found that doing household chores like kneading bread was a wonderful time to compose verses in my head.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I likely would have remained at the parsonage, caring for my father and my animals. Perhaps I would have been a village music teacher, but my heart would have always remained in the hills.
What was your life like before fame?
It was very quiet and deeply intellectual. We read everything we could get our hands on: history, politics, poetry. We were four siblings living in a small house, but our minds were exploring entire universes.
How did relationships change after success?
Since I wrote under a pseudonym, most people didn't know it was me. My relationship with my sisters only grew stronger, though. We were each other's editors, critics, and greatest supporters.
Did fame bring happiness?
Happiness for me came from the Moors and my family, not from the opinions of critics. In fact, many people found Wuthering Heights to be too savage or strange when it first came out. I was quite happy to stay out of the limelight.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
The loss of privacy. Charlotte eventually wanted to reveal who we were, and that was very difficult for me. I preferred being Ellis Bell, a shadow that people could wonder about but never truly touch.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Many thought I was melancholy or cold because I was so private. In truth, I was filled with a very fierce joy. I simply found that joy in the natural world rather than in small talk.
What was your darkest moment?
Watching my brother Branwell struggle with his failures and his health. It was a heavy cloud over our home, and seeing someone with so much talent lose his way was heartbreaking.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I don't know that I spoke of many regrets. I lived the life I was meant to live. Perhaps I wished I could have seen my sisters find more peace in their own lives, but for myself, I accepted the storm and the sunshine alike.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
People often assume Wuthering Heights was a romance. To me, it was a study of the soul and the elemental forces of nature. It wasn't meant to be pretty. It was meant to be true.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My sister Charlotte. She was the engine that pushed us forward. Without her persistence, my poems and my novel might have stayed tucked away in a desk drawer forever.
What was life like in your final years?
It was a time of great reflection. My health began to fail rather quickly, but I remained as stubborn as ever. I refused to see a doctor or take medicine for a long time. I wanted to meet my end on my own terms.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was always writing poetry. There has been much talk about a second novel, but I leave that to the mystery of the Moors.
When and where and how did you pass away, and how old were you?
I passed away on December 19th, 1848, at our home in Haworth. I was only 30 years old. It was tuberculosis, a common visitor to our house back then.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was an excellent marksman. My father taught me how to shoot a pistol so that I could protect the house if he was ever away. I practiced regularly.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Some people believed that I didn't actually write Wuthering Heights, but that my brother Branwell did. I assure you, those words came from my own heart and no one else's.
What was your most unique habit?
I would often write on tiny scraps of paper or the backs of grocery bills. Whenever an idea struck, I had to catch it immediately, no matter what I was doing.
What was your favorite food?
I enjoyed very simple things, fresh bread and perhaps some porridge. I was never one for fancy feasts.
What was your favorite book?
I had a great fondness for the works of Byron and the old sagas, anything that captured the wildness of the human spirit.
Did you have any known rivalries?
Not personal ones, but I did find myself at odds with the literary critics of the time who thought my writing was too coarse for a lady. I suppose I enjoyed proving them wrong.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
My dog Keeper was quite a handful. He once decided to take a nap in the middle of the aisle during a church service while my father was preaching. I had to try very hard not to laugh.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
I didn't care for possessions, but I suppose spending our small inheritance to publish a book of poems that only sold 2 copies felt quite outlandish to the rest of the world at the time.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Do not write for the world. Write for yourself. If you are true to your own soul, your work will have a life of its own long after you are gone. Be as fierce as the wind and as steady as the stone.
Emily, this has been absolutely fascinating. Do you have any closing remarks about our interview or the stories you've shared today for our listeners?
Only that I am grateful to have been heard again. To everyone listening, find your own moors, that place where your spirit feels most alive, and never let anyone take it from you. Thank you for inviting me, Calvin.
Thank you so much for being here, Emily. What an incredible journey into the 19th century. We've learned about the woman behind the mystery, the marksman, the poet, and the sister. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.